Alright, so this one is going to be about theoretical spotlights. More of those. Through some discussion yesterday, one of the players brought up, like, oh, we could do more side stuff, like with new characters, just to mix it up. Like, we could do that. So, a few of us still have backup characters. And I was thinking, so, like, because that's a known quantity, instead of, like, just coming up with new characters for the point of talking about this, I'm thinking, like, okay, my backup character, Facedeer, because that's the one I know. For me, I was thinking, let me come up with an idea, theoretically, for a spotlight there. I don't know if it would really contribute much to the overall narrative going on. So it is like theoretically, this is like a side story. It doesn't matter, but it's in my head, so I'm going to talk about it. So the main thing Facedeer actually wants is to get his friend back, get Bob back. That's all he really wants. Last we saw him, he was resurrected and regenerated by Ohm and Alarin. So he's whole and he's functional. And he was pretty much going to set off back to that mountain to try to dig through the rubble to get a scrap of Bob so that he could try to resurrect him. So, like, okay, I think there's two approaches we could do here. One, start it there. Facedeer makes his way to that mountain, and that's part of what we're doing here. But then the rest of the characters, the whole rest of the party, also kind of needs a reason to go there. And whether, you could do something a little contrived where it's just a bunch of Goliath soldiers that are already there. But then why are they like the same power level as Facedeer? And why didn't they do anything during the actual conflict? That's kind of weird. So then that would be like a session or two of just like digging through rubble pretty much. And for something like a spotlight, I don't think that's good. I don't think that would work. It's just not interesting. You know what I mean? So I think a better theoretical idea would be, all right, Bob, either take care of it through some rolls ahead of time, or just, okay, Bob made his way to the mountain and found this little scrap of Bob, like Bob's core or something, but it's dead. So he has this piece of Bob, and now he has to find some way to resurrect this character. And instead of it being like, okay, I'll just call Ohm because he has access to resurrection, instead it's, no, this little scrap of this changeling that has been so deeply affected by the spell plague and all this other shit, he can't be resurrected normally. So we got to go about it some other way. Or even maybe we do, or maybe he found Bob and Bob is alive, but there's some other extenuating circumstance why Bob isn't a full character again. Because another little idea we had was Bob would act as kind of like a Marvel symbiote. Not in the he covers Facedeer and gives him a whole exodermis type thing and all these abilities. No, it's just Bob is like a little floating tendril head that talks, and that's all Bob does. So Bob would essentially be like a little familiar that's just part of Facedeer's character, more or less. And then I guess in this situation, Knox would either be playing two characters, he'd be playing Bob at least narratively and roleplay wise, and then he would have a separate character that actually participates normally, or Bob would have certain capabilities. He'd be like a half character. So he'd be like a glorified familiar or a pumped up familiar, something like that. And he would, he'd probably have a full turn and you have actions and stuff, but you'd have to figure that out. But like that's two routes to go about it. I think having Bob be alive is probably more interesting, especially if he's in some heavily degraded state and we have to do something really specific to restore him. We have to track down some sort of creature that is known for some sort of like higher order magical creature that's known for its healing and regeneration, like I don't know, a unicorn or something, and Bob has to eat it. The quest for Bob's lunch. That's what this spotlight is. So something like that. I'm just throwing out. That seems like it could be fun. As far as other characters, I don't know what everybody else could play at that point, because the world is in such a state right now. It's difficult to find people a little, but I don't know. There's ways. This is just like the little start. Shred of a start, So I don't know. Could be fun, but I don't know if we want to like really detract from the main story, because I know we'd like to get it finished. There's a lot of shit going on, It's so it could be cool. Like maybe, like if we do just need like a break from the main game, I know that can be helpful, because I remember how excited we were after the spotlight to come back to the main party, and we can kind of go back and forth between that if we wanted to use more spotlights again, and this would drag the campaign on, but I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. So I don't know. It's an idea. Thoughts. I'll have to upload this later because I still don't have any cell service anywhere. Well, I'm not going to upload it on mobile anyway. I'm going to ignore everything I just said. It doesn't matter. Let's see. Anything else? I don't know. I guess any other spotlights. It could be something like what? I don't know. Basically, I just had an idea. Something. Maybe we're part of some other characters that are like a part of Saztam's army. Maybe we're not the same level as the main party, because these aren't necessarily backups in the same way. So we could be level 9, or we could be level 7, whatever. But maybe we could be little soldiers in Saztam's army, or in that Goliath army, or in any number of different things. There's tons of activity going on all over the world. So, there's options. I think there's options. And it's really just like something that speaks to either another player, the DM, just some little, oh, I got it. Like, you're going to get struck with that kind of inspiration as you think about these things. So I think there's options for theoretical spotlights out there. But, that's all I got for today.